Hello, and welcome to the first official Storytime video. Now, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, wait a second, BJ, first Storytime video? You already did one of these. But I didn't say first, I said first official because that one I did before, I didn't really think that I was going to turn this into a series, and I kind of want a jumping off point for it. And I think today, telling you kind of about my career and my path to become an artist is a great first storytime video. So that's why this is the first official storytime video. So if you're not familiar with storytime videos, basically I'm going to throw up some art on the screen here that I'm working on, and then I'm going to tell you a story. Sometimes it's going to be educational, sometimes it's going to be entertaining, sometimes like today, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know what you're watching right now though, because I'm recording this voiceover actually before I do it. So I don't even know what I'm drawing right now. I don't know what you're watching. So I'm not actually going to tell you anything about what you're watching. This is just a story. This is nothing else. You're getting no walkthroughs about my menu options and everything else. So let's go ahead and get into it. As for me, I pretty much have been drawing as long as I can remember. My earliest memories are from preschool, from nursery school, having my art showcased on the classroom walls. I don't remember ever not drawing. It's just something that I've always done, and it's something that I've always been really good at. I excelled in school, but I really, really was good at art. And growing up, I was always told by, friends and parents and, adults that, oh, he is so good at art. BJ is going to be an artist when he grows up. I know he's going to be an artist. So, especially from a young age, being impressionable, I just always kind of believed that growing up, and it kind of solidified that idea in my head that that's what I was going to do with my life. From, like I said, a very early age, when I was in, I would say probably late elementary school, junior high school, I kind of took that general term artist and focused it a little bit more because I wanted to be a comic book artist, which I'm sure a lot of people watching or listening to this that are into art probably had that same kind of pipe dream when they were somewhere in their younger years. Comic book artists, it seems like all of us drawing art always at one time or another wanted to be a comic book artist, and that was the same for me. Especially the time that I was growing up, Image Comics was absolutely huge. And for some of the people watching that are a little bit younger, to kind of explain, we didn't have, the huge Marvel cinematic universe back then. We didn't have the DC movies. Comics were not a mainstream media pop culture phenomenon that they are today. So when Image Comics came out and you started seeing all these characters appear on the news, and they talked about how many sales, the first issue of Spawn had, and then you started seeing not only the comics, but the actual comic book artists being featured in mainstream media. That was mind-blowing. It had never been done before. You had, Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld just became almost household names. And to think about it now, I mean, as many memes and jokes on the internet there are about like Rob Liefeld and his crappy anatomy and how bad he was at drawing feet. I mean, this dude had a Levi's 501 commercial back in the day. So for an comic book artist to have that kind of reach into mainstream pop culture was unheard of. And these were kind of like our sports stars that we looked up to when other people were idolizing Michael Jordan. Us geeky art kids were looking in the pages of the comic book and just idolizing these guys that were creating this amazing stuff. So that's kind of where my headspace was at that time. As I got a little bit older, started developing a portfolio, started talking to people at conventions, bringing my portfolio in for reviews at conventions, and talking to artists. And the one thing that I really took away from those conversations of the people that were working in the industry that I met was this: that the industry, number one, at the time was super hard to break into, which I'm sure it still is now. But even if you did make it into the industry, it was so cutthroat, and there was so many people involved that you couldn't look at those big names and expect that that was what was going to happen with your career. When you look at comic books, especially, let's say, monthly issues, comics having 22, 24 pages in a comic book issue. And if you're doing a monthly book, that was 24 pages of drawings that you had to submit a month. And, each page has how many different drawings in the panels. So this was a lot of work that was going into these. So a lot of these artists were either, working their fingers to the bone, or a lot of them that weren't those big names were actually working second jobs to be able to pay and make a living wage, because the comic books were not paying that much per page, and honestly still don't for the work that goes into it, unless you're one of those huge big name artists. So yeah, I became pretty jaded with that after, talking to more and more people. So when I was in high school, I kind of decided, okay, well, graphic design is so big. Let me just kind of decide more. Let me do graphic design. I can still do my illustration. There's people that need book covers. There's magazine covers with these illustrations on it. That's what I can do. So after I graduated high school, I went ahead and went into college into a graphic design program. And to be absolutely honest, I absolutely hated it. It was not at all what I had expected. This curriculum that I was in, there were no illustration classes. There was no life drawing classes. Anything involved with that side of the creativity was not involved whatsoever. It was strictly design. It was strictly layout. It was strictly typography, and then learning the programs that went along with it, like Photoshop and Illustrator. And with Photoshop in particular, I had been using Photoshop since high school. We had a computer in the art lab that I basically taught myself Photoshop before the days of, fabulous YouTube tutorials and online classes. It was basically just trial and error, and there were a few, books at the time. Of course, this was before I think even the dummy book series came out. So I was already familiar with that, and like I said, I hated it. I decided it was not for me. One of the things that the college did at the time, which I'm sure they still do, was they would from time to time hand out flyers saying, okay, here is currently what you can expect from the field that you're going into. Here's what the current rates of pay are locally. And looking at it, my jaw dropped, because it was really, really bad. It was really low pay, especially for, going to college to get a college education and a degree. And at the time, I had actually started working in high school when I turned 16, and I was working retail. And I knew from working there, and then also from my father, who had been in retail his entire career. He had gone to college and got a teaching degree, which he did not use, and ended up going into retail management, ended up retiring after a long career in retail. I knew that, what was being paid in retail at the management level was actually more than what I would have been making doing graphic design at a firm based upon the current market. So I decided to leave, go back into retail. And with retail, like I said, started in high school. Even when I was in high school, I'd actually been making some kind of waves at the company that I was with, because at not even graduated from high school yet, I was doing bookkeeping for this company. I was doing accounts payable, accounts receivable. So I was kind of in the fast lane to move up there, and was making pretty good money at the time. So fast forward a little bit, and I did get an opportunity to do graphic design. So I took a graphic design position with a firm that actually worked with publishing with companies. This one in particular was a clothing company who had like a catalog and a website. And my job was to take a hard drive that contained thousands upon thousands of images of their products, which were t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies and button-down shirts and polo shirts and jackets. And I had to crop those images. I had to color correct them. I had to remove the backgrounds. I had to add a drop shadow. And then I had to cross-reference whatever the file name was with the actual correct product name, resave them under that product name, wash, rinse, repeat over and over again. Like I said, thousands upon thousands. And I'm sure you can only guess how boring and just how mind-numbingly awful that was. It was really soul-crushing because, I decided to get back into retail, then to go ahead and do graphic design, to only find out that my kind of worst fears were true, that this was not something that was going to use my illustration abilities. It was not going to use my drawing abilities whatsoever. And to be honest, it was just, punching buttons on a keyboard. This I really thought was something that they could have hired pretty much anyone from the street to do. One day of training, it was almost like a muscle memory thing once you started to, get in the process of it. And, just the fact that anybody could have done this without having a graphic design or illustration background to it really turned me off to the whole thing. And yeah, I worked there for, it was I assume you think I'm going to say 5 years. No, it was 5 days. I started on a Monday and left on a Friday because I just could not take it anymore. So from there, went back into retail management and did retail management for a while. I think all said and done with retail management, it was right around 20 years of doing retail management. So that kind of tells you the background that I've had with that. While I was doing that, I always tried to, and I say always tried to, draw. I did freelance work on the side. But over that time that I was in retail, in the back of my mind, I always knew that I wanted to use my illustration talents. I wanted to use that combined with the graphic design to do more, to do that as a career, to do that as a job. So this kind of developed what I would call, for lack of a better term, an art depression. So it wasn't like a full on, like, deep depression, but it really affected my art, my creativity, and just that passion that I had to create. Without being able to do it for a career and having to do it on the side, it really started to kind of take me through highs and lows of wanting to create. I would go a few days without drawing, and then those days turned into weeks. Sometimes those weeks would turn into months, and sometimes those months, I think there was a time that, those months turned into a year at one point. And I guess that's what I wanted to tell you guys about today, and tell you not to let that happen to you. Just really, really push through. If you start to, ever doubt your abilities, ever doubt your talents, definitely push through. Practice every single day, because art's one of those kind of crazy things that you actually get worse at it if you don't do it. So it's the old adage, one step forward, two steps back. I would see the level of skill in my art decline when I stopped doing it. There's times I flipped through some of my art the other day, and there's stuff that I've got that I did in my 20s that's actually worse than the stuff that I still have that I did in high school, which is pretty depressing to see, and really speaks volumes to, just how much importance it is to do the art every day and to put in the work. Secondly, one of those things now is I really, really am kind of jealous of the younger generations growing up, and just the amount of information and the amount of just opportunities that are out there at your fingertips. With people my age growing up, we didn't have the internet. And now, I mean, you can get on YouTube and find any tutorial on how to draw. You can find any tutorial on how to use programs. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this, is to kind of give back and help some people that might need some information that I know and can give back. But everything is out there. I mean, heck, I am not mechanically inclined at all, but I'll get on YouTube and I can fix my washer. My washer went out a few weeks ago, and got on YouTube and fixed it myself rather than having, a washing machine repairman come out and fix it. So that's just crazy that there's so much information out there that you can teach yourself. So utilize everything that's at your fingertips. Honestly, don't squander that gift that you have. It's such a powerful tool to have, and just the fact that almost everybody has that access is just crazy. The second thing is too, with the internet, you have so many opportunities to get your name out there. So many opportunities to make an impact on people that could be quote unquote fans of yours, that could turn into clients. There's so many opportunities out there that you guys need to recognize. And that's kind of what I did for myself. I got to a point where I guess I took inventory of my life and looked at, my career choices, and stopped feeling sorry for myself, stopped feeling that I should be doing something else, and got into the mindset that I could do something else, and I had all the tools. I just had to put in the work to achieve it, and that's what I did. So, like I said, I started getting back into the habit of drawing every day. The fact now, thinking back, that there was times that I would go that long without drawing. It's been years now that I've gone like a day without drawing. Every single day I draw, and it's been that way for years. Uh, Really, as a freelancer, you don't have days off, so you're drawing anyways. But any like downtime, any vacation days, anything like that, like I still will find the time to draw. And you've got to put in the work, and you've got to be disciplined enough to make that happen. So I decided to do that, number one, but then I decided to utilize those tools that are out there and kind of leverage my presence online, started reaching out to clients, started making a name for myself online, building up a client base while I was still working my retail management position, and was able to build up enough clients and enough padding that I knew once I decided to leave my job that I had that business started, that I could afford to do that. So the one thing nice about retail and management in particular was it paid enough to, provide for a family. A lot of people that are older that, are maybe struggling artists or want to be artists. I know that's one of the hard things to do, is if you've got a family to provide for, if you're married, if you have kids, mortgage, car payments, all that stuff, it's really tough to pursue something that's more of a passion. And that's why it's so important, is to put in that work while you're still at your current job, and to do what you need to do to get out, but not to jump out, too far ahead of yourself. That's one of the main takeaways that I hope you get out of this video. Just make sure that you are doing everything you can while that kind of safety net of your current job is still in place. With retail management, I mean, I was putting in, usually 48, 52 during December. A lot of times you put in 60 or 70 hours, because a lot of times in retail management, you are salary. So I would make sure I had time every single night when I came home, stay up late, wake up early before I went in the next day to get in some more practice, get in some more emails, get in some more social media posts, stuff like that, to make sure that I was kind of making a plan and a foundation going forward. And after doing that for a few years, I was finally able to say adios to the retail management career and just go full time with the freelance, and haven't looked back since. It's been a lot of fun. It's provided me a lot of opportunities too, such as doing this YouTube channel. I don't think I would have had the time to do everything before, so I love that. In addition to that, I'm teaching a graphic design class part-time at a nonprofit studio here in town. So having the time to do that and give back is also just fantastic. But going forward, I guess my plans are, I'm never content with where I'm at. I think a lot of people, they want to be artists, and then a lot of people that get to the point of being artists, that they're working for a firm, decide, oh, I want to branch out on my own and get my own clients. And then once you do that, a lot of people think, okay, well, I've got my clients, but what can I do? What kind of business can I build off of this to where I can do stuff for myself and I don't have to worry about clients? And that's kind of the point I'm at too. And I know a lot of artists feel that way. I've got an art friend I talked to online, which I don't know if he wants his name mentioned in this video, so I won't say your name, but if you're listening, you know I'm talking about you. We were talking a few weeks ago, kind of about this same topic, and he's just getting really burnt out on drawing client work and having to deliver to clients and having these deadlines, and he's really looking for a way to kind of leverage all his talents in a way that he can do the work for himself and he can be his own client, which is kind of the same route that I'm wanting to take too. So it's almost like a grass is greener type of thing, but I think that's the point that all artists eventually get to. That's one thing that I love about, doing print on demand. If you're here because of Merch by Amazon is an awesome opportunity. It's afforded me more time to focus on stuff like these YouTube videos and focus more time on doing, the studio teaching. So building that business that you can make money for yourself and you don't have to rely on clients is something every artist dreams about. And I'm so, grateful and thankful for platforms like Merch on Amazon, that gives you that ability to be able to make that money for yourself, and you make the design and you're not handing it off, letting somebody else make money off of it. You're actually making money yourself, and it's kind of like a perpetual thing that money's going to keep on coming in. So that design's yours. It's going to keep on selling. So that's one thing I absolutely love. If you guys just got to the channel just for the art and you don't know about merch by Amazon, look it up. It's fantastic. Of course, there's other print-on-demand platforms like Redbubble and TeePublic and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's really afforded me a lot of opportunities this past year. So really grateful for that. So that's my story for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments. Going forward, I'll be doing these every Friday, unless there's like crazy negativity behind this one. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But going forward, honestly, I've got crazy stories, most of them being from retail. Just be honest, retail is an endless well of stories, stuff that you cannot make up. Granted, they have nothing to do with art, but I guarantee they will be entertaining. Case in point, one company that I managed for, part of the job was actually going into customers' houses. And 4 to 5 weeks after we went in this one customer's house or apartment, they actually murdered someone. And I'm not talking about like accidental manslaughter. I'm talking about straight up like Law and Order SVU murder, son. Crazy. So yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg on some of the stories I have from retail. So like I said, let me know in the comments if you liked it. Give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down if you didn't. I don't care. I want to know. Thanks for watching, guys.